All right, welcome back everybody to I'm going to call this the 8th episode
Scoop.
of the Oriental.
Scoop.
Today we have our special guest. It's called Mr. Cold because it's super cold.
Because I'm too cold. Can't hold me.
This episode we're going to be wearing our special winter edition clothes.
Winter edition Oriental Scoop merch. Buy your smelly, buy your old smelly blanket.
Now. So we wanted to have a simple episode for today, make it short, and we wanted to talk about
two things I've been thinking about lately.
Two things that we've been thinking about lately that relate to our lives. Now, the first one is Mo'taz's idea. He suggested it.
I want to talk about prayer.
Prayer.
So let me tell you about prayer. I think there are many misconceptions around it, and it's important for...
Wait, first of all, why did you decide you want to talk about prayer?
Because I've recently began to see it in a different light, because I think many people have the idea that prayer is very ritualistic. Like you just go, you sit down, you do your prayers, and then okay, so in Islam you have to do 5 prayers a day, right? And the way, I don't know, so for Christians, what's it like? Is there a limit, or is there a requirement? Is there a quota?
I don't think there is a requirement for Christians. They just choose to pray whenever they go.
So at least on Sundays
mass,
for sure.
Yeah, Sunday mass.
So as far as we know, on Sundays for sure. But many people feel that prayer is a very ritualistic and, sort of empty act. It's like your push-ups, right? You're doing push-ups, you're doing prayer. But I think it's, in order to make most out of prayer, it's important to understand what you can get out of it, right? So prayer isn't something that you're just doing an act and you're reciting words. You probably can hear
Speaking
the adhan. But much of what you will read in Road to Success, how to become an improver, how to improve. One major...
I wake up at 4 a.m. I go for a jog. Then I go back to sleep for a 5-minute nap. Then I wake up for another jog.
Yeah, a gust to improve. And you hear many of these, people preaching gratitude journaling and...
What's gratitude journaling?
So gratitude journaling is you get a list down. You get a list and you write... You think about the things that you're grateful for and you write them down. So that's gratitude journaling, okay?
Okay, interesting.
And many other things that they tell you to do, these the improvers, is that you also should write a to-do list, wake up early, develop discipline. And, I've recently come to the realization that a lot of that is very similar to prayer. So gratitude journaling is... when you pray, you do gratitude journaling. You're thanking God for the blessings you've been given, and you sit down, you think to yourself, I have to pray now. So you don't look at your phone. You're just thinking about the prayer, and then you think what you're grateful for. And I think that's a big skill to have, and it's important to have it. But many people think that prayer is ritualistic. But if you sit down and try to do it properly, try to think about the things, you have to name all the things you're grateful for and name what you were grateful for today. That's really important to do. And what else did I mention?
So let's maybe compare journalistic, what's it called?
Gratitude journalism.
Gratitude journalism.
It's just one aspect of prayer.
Maybe gratitude journalism was created as a atheistic way of performing prayer, right?
Could it be? I don't know. But it really blurs the lines of like... Yeah, I don't know, man.
One is about focusing on the positives in life, being thankful for all the positive things. So you're trying to, because we are negative human creatures after all.
Speak for yourself, baby. I'm on that bloomer. I'm on that bloomer.
I mean, it's only natural that people actually focus more on the negative events.
Yeah,
and the
you'll remember
aspects.
them more.
Yeah, you'll remember more painful events more than you remember good events or nice events. So getting into the habit of remembering these good things will counteract our nature and focusing on the negatives. But there is an aspect to it in prayer in which you are thanking God,
Yeah.
right?
that's
You're not just thanking the universe. You're not being thankful for nothing. You're thanking God. So there's
Yeah.
this additional step that you have to take.
I agree. And one other thing I wanted to mention is having a to-do list, right? So when you pray to achieve certain goals, okay? And you pray hard for them. And I know that in the current times, many people call this manifesting, right? You believe in something, so it's gonna happen. They call it manifestation. But there is there's a point behind it. When you want something really bad and you think of it in your prayer, you're gonna work harder for it, right? It's on your mind. It's something that you want to do. And if you have the idea, if you have the belief that you will get it, that's half the fight, right? Because if you just believe that you're gonna get it, you're gonna work hard enough to get it.
So when is it like manifesting versus when is it delusion?
It's manifesting when you post about it on Twitter and say, I'm gonna manifest this. That's manifest.
When is it delusion?
Oh shoot, sorry, I meant that was the delusion. you put I'm gonna manifest and then you add the emoji, the one with the sparkly things. Yeah, keep manifesting. How about you set a goal? You set baby steps, day by day. See how you can achieve this major goal. Yeah, you fight your battles one at a time. You don't think too far ahead. You should have a plan for the future, of course. But as Mike Tyson once said, everybody got a plan till they get punched in the face, right? So don't think too far ahead. Don't think too crazy. Just take it one day at a time, and yeah. That's a bit of that is what you get in prayer, right?
So, but why now? Why did you decide to focus on prayer now?
The abyss.
When you stare the abyss stares back.
Yeah, the abyss,
you.
bro. No, I just wanted to mention it because it's an often overlooked aspect. We focus most, even religious people tell you that you should pray because this is a relationship you have with God that you need to focus on. You won't go to heaven if you don't pray, but it's not just about that. Prayer isn't just about praising God. It's about being grateful. It's gratitude journaling. It's having a to-do list. It's having discipline, since you're gonna have to set everything down, and that's what I love. Something really cool about it is that when you just take the time off, take 2 minutes off 3 times a day, 5 times a day, you just take that time off to sit yourself down and think what you were grateful for today and what you will work hard on. That is good.
It sounds easy, but I know a lot of people who don't have the discipline to just stop whatever they're doing for like 2 or 3 minutes a day and just do this task, which is, I don't know, maybe you wanna compare it to meditating.
Yeah, it's a lot like meditation as well. You need to silence that talking monkey, right?
Yeah, and especially now more than ever, because there's Instagram, there's YouTube, there's TikTok, and this aspect of like scrolling through these reels or shorts or TikToks, and then the thing about them is they're very addictive. They're very successful for these companies, but they're very addictive because there is this idea of novelty every time you scroll. You always want to get this mini dopamine spike every time you scroll through something, and the algorithm is tailored to give you like these shorts or reels or whatever that are tailored to you. So you always constantly keep on seeing some interesting stuff, and you sometimes I find myself like wasting an entire hour just on that.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, when was the last time that if you weren't working, even when you're working, man, when was the last time where you just put your phone aside and not look at it, right?
Oh, rarely.
Yeah, rarely.
It's either on YouTube on my laptop, or I'm on my phone.
You must consume.
Browsing Insta. And it's sad. I mean, it's sad to reflect on it looking back now retrospectively. But I think it's a problem. We always make fun of these new generation kids, right? they're always on their phones. They're always on their phones. But
It's
I think
literally me.
yeah, I think we've
Yeah.
fallen into that trap.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult to detoxify yourself from social media nowadays, because every form of communication, whether it's for your job, whether it's for your friends or with your friends, whether it's with your partner or whatever, it's always on social media, right? So it's always on your phone, and you can't really just disappear. Hopefully people aren't lonely enough to understand what I'm saying. There's always
Yeah.
someone that wants to talk to you, and if they can't reach you, it's the end of the world, because we're in the age of you're always present 24/7. Your virtual self is present at all times, right? You should
Yeah.
always maintain a presence online somewhere so that a person can communicate with you.
Yeah, and if you don't respond, people will get offended.
Not just offended. Some of them will be even worried, because it's not normal these days. I mean, a long time ago, maybe like 40 years ago, 50 years ago even, people used to go days without talking to each other. Like
Were there any phones?
there were phones,
Yeah.
but there was one phone for the entire house, and you weren't always in the house, right? You were at your job, or you were I don't know where.
Yeah.
So you couldn't always communicate with a certain individual. Yeah. So maybe prayer is a way of detoxifying yourself from these things.
Exactly.
It's a form of meditation where you focus on one thing, let's say, and that's I'm gonna say God, but people can choose to focus on whatever
you can
they
do your
want.
thing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, I think this is a good time to go into our other topic. So when it comes to prayer and having a relationship with God or any higher power, do you get unconditional love?
Unconditional love. Okay. So
So-
listen about that.
Yeah.
There is this idea. I don't know if it's from Disney movies or from Hollywood in general, but people are in my opinion are in a delusion that your significant other in specific is supposed to love you unconditionally. All right? So without any conditions. And I don't think people understand the magnitude of what they're saying.
Yeah.
Right? So you're supposed to love an individual without any conditions attached.
And you've signed a paper that looks like a business deal, by the way.
Yeah.
The paper you signed looks like a business deal.
It
and
is
then
a
you-
contract.
Yeah, it's
If
a
you're married.
contract.
Yeah. Even if you're not, let's say, married, the couple have already professed love to each other.
Have you?
So one or maybe both partners would think that there is supposed to be unconditional love, and it's always tethered to the fact that if something ever happens to one partner, the other partner has to stay there by their side. For example, I'm just giving an example here. Someone became paraplegic, aka like handicapped. They couldn't move their arms or legs. They're just stuck in their head.
Yeah.
Like similar to what's his name, Stephen Hawking's.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah. Or any kind of disability, physical disability. I'm not gonna say mental, because maybe that's a different issue. But
Yeah.
mainly, let's say physical disabilities, and like no matter what happens, you're supposed to stay by that person that you love, right?
Hold up. When the person can do an effort and they're not doing that effort anymore, I think it's an entirely different story than then having some catastrophic, issue that is now impeding them from.
But I'm saying how people think about it, because that's how it's always portrayed in movies. Like some disastrous thing happens to that significant other, or for example, like one of these movies where the guy goes MIA. He's some American vet and he's fighting in God knows where, and then he goes missing in action, and then the spouse is like, okay, and then she waits for a while, and then he doesn't come back for like a year or two, or so she moves on.
Yeah.
So people would expect that you have to have unconditional love for this partner, and you have to wait for them, and you have to love them no matter what. However, now comes the big but, and this is, I think, by far a very unpopular opinion. I think all love, most, if not like 95% of love is conditional.
That's why Ali is very popular with the ladies.
maybe at least for you and me, the only people who unconditionally love us,
My
and
mom.
I'm willing to even debate that, are our parents. Your mother, my mother, whatever, but parents in general, like
Yeah,
even fathers
yeah.
love their children unconditionally. I'd like to believe so, but we're all human beings.
Yeah.
So let me give an example to our viewers of how love is always conditional. Okay, so people always think of these disastrous things that might happen. To what about the non-disastrous things that might happen? So, for example, a husband who fails or neglects his wife is not doing his husbandry duties anymore. He doesn't.
Can you elaborate?
All right. I'm not talking about those duties. So let's say a husband who is becoming lazy around the house. He doesn't help anymore. He expects his wife to cook for him. He isn't thankful. He doesn't compliment her. He
Doesn't take care of the kids.
yeah, he doesn't try to romance his wife. He doesn't it's a healthy
It's a
part
duty.
of any
Yeah,
relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
He basically isn't like taking care of the wife in any form or shape. He just goes to work and then goes back to sleep. They barely talk anymore. So is the wife supposed to unconditionally love her husband because he is her husband? He signed the paper? Definitely not.
No.
Definitely not. And that's why that's one of the reasons why divorces happens, because people like realize the conditions are not being met. So it is conditional love at the end of the day.
That's true. If love was unconditional, people wouldn't be divorcing each other.
Yeah, yeah.
It's definitely conditional, and there are things that you have to meet in a relationship. Relationships can't be based purely on emotion, right? Like I can sit and tell you I love you while you do the laundry, and it doesn't mean anything. A lot of it is based on action, and there needs to be an active effort. Once you put that ring on it, it's not like you're.
But I
now,
love him.
you are not now relieved of your efforts in a relationship. You need to continue these efforts. You can work on it. You can work on love. You can work on passion. You can.
Yeah, and the same goes for, I gave the example of a man who's not like fulfilling the conditions anymore, but the same goes for a woman. If a woman's like, let's say, not giving her husband some intimate time in the bedroom, that's one of them. That's what I hear a lot of times. Or the woman is not like.
Who do you hear it from?
Yo, come on, bro. Or the woman isn't like, maybe she let herself go a bit. Please don't get offended, guys. These things do happen. Like, for example, like a woman just came out of a pregnancy. She gained a lot of weight. She's not putting any effort into lose it anymore. Or just anyone in the marriage who gained significant amount of weight, they don't bother.
Yeah, the dad just loves his
Dad
burgers.
loves his beers, loves his burgers.
Eats his donuts for breakfast, doesn't care enough to take care of himself.
Yeah. And they're not dressing well. They're not, hygiene isn't.
By the way, that's a major thing, right? When you're first going out with someone, you always make sure you
look perfect.
You have to look perfect. You have to smell just right. You
Yeah.
can't have one here on your beard. You have to shave it
blemish.
off. Yeah, you can't have any blemish. And then the moment you get comfy, what does it mean to get comfy, right? When do you get complacent? When do you become a loser in your relationship? No, really.
When you become a loser, huh?
When did you stop caring?
And people would disagree. They'll tell you that part of love is accepting these things. But in my opinion, okay, there are times where you can look past these things when it's not in that person's control. So, for example, someone is sick.
Yeah,
they're vomiting all over the place, or they're
someone's
having a very bad case of gastroenteritis,
or they have
diarrhea,
taking chemotherapy or something.
Yeah, and he goes bald.
Yeah, you need to stick with your
you
partner.
stick with your partner, because that this is not their fault. This is not something in their control. However, when you see your spouse not putting any active effort to take care of themselves, and you see these reversible changes on them, which they're not trying, they're not putting any effort anymore into it. I mean, that's wrong, and that is breaking the conditions of conditional love, because I think all marriages are conditional love. And this is what happens nowadays. People get married thinking that it's gonna be unconditional love and it's gonna be forever, and then it turns out it is conditional, right? And then they realize that a lot of the conditions are being broken, and that's why they end up divorced. That's not to say that there are other reasons why people get divorced, but that's one of them. And in the past, people used to get married mainly more on they used to rely more on responsibility rather than love. It was arranged marriages, so you had the responsibility to take care of your spouse, you had the responsibility, you had the roles that you had to do to conform into society,
and you were trained for it, by the way.
Yeah, you were trained for it, and that is why these marriages are more successful, because if, let's call these conditions, they are forced. You have to meet these conditions. They are like rules set by society.
Yeah.
And because the rules are being met, people are less likely to divorce.
Yeah, exactly. Because emotion can fade away, right? You can feel, that they call it the honeymoon phase of your relationship.
Yeah.
First 3 to 6 months, I don't know. And that can go away. But and once it's gone, you need to have
something that binds you together, and that is the shared responsibility of a household, the responsibility of taking care of your spouse or your partner or whatever. But people have this Disney La La Land idea that it should be unconditional love, and it's crazy. Nowadays, if you expect something from your significant other, they sometimes tend to react badly to that. And I think we should start normalizing like putting conditions and expecting things in return.
You sign a contract, so why doesn't the contract have conditions? It should. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's one of the ways to order your relationships. And depending on how serious the relationship is, the conditions get stricter and more stringent.
Get crazier. Yeah, that's true. If you don't care about someone, it doesn't matter to you if you're going to be with them for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's serious and you want to be with them for long, you're going to think about those things.
And there is this movement nowadays. So if one spouse is if they're asking for certain conditions from the other, or from the other partner, sorry, not spouse, like other people that are outside the relationship might react negatively and start saying that these are unreasonable.
You don't love him.
These are unreasonable, like, what do they call them? Demands. They're unreasonable demands, and you shouldn't listen to that person or this person. They're using you. They're abusive. Like, oh, come on, calm down.
Ali gets those a lot, so.
No, I don't get those a lot, but I do hear about these things, especially this kind of group polarization. Like the moment someone asks, like, I expect this, and this, which, by the way, is, I think, a very good tactic to do at the beginning of a relationship. So you put your expectations at the beginning if you're looking for something serious later on down the line.
I think this is especially more so true for the ladies, right? It's like, I feel that men tend to, with the ease of dating apps and stuff, tend to get their, like, you can drag on someone for very, very long, right? So it's very important to get what you want out of any interaction. Important to set your ground rules and things like that.
So
it is what it is.
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk about that in specific because I think, there's this delusional idea that there shouldn't be any conditions set. And I'm sorry to say, but this is heavily weighed against men in this case. It's like men are not supposed to have expectations from someone.
It seems Ali's going through a rough patch. Honestly, I've had the opposite experience. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's not about It's not about me experiencing something in specific, but I've noticed a pattern that whenever I ask someone, I tell them that this is what I expect. These are my I'm gonna call them demands, but demand sounds like such
expectations. How
yeah,
about
these
that?
are my expectations. And then maybe in the beginning they're like, oh, okay. And then the people maybe expect you to change your mind after being with that certain person.
Yeah.
After a while, like why would I change my mind? These are my expectations. I'm not gonna change my mind on those.
By the way, you hear that a lot from older people. It's like, oh, you don't do this, or you're a smoker. Don't worry. When he's gonna get used to it, or
yeah,
something,
he'll get
right?
used to it. No, I disagree. You shouldn't get used to anything. If you have a specific expectation, you shouldn't like let it go unless you decide that you can live without it, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't. Oh, and another thing, by the way, you shouldn't choose a partner based on their potential.
Yeah.
You should choose a partner based on what they are right now in the present, because what if this partner never fulfills their potential?
I don't think that's entirely true, man. I have
Why?
to disagree, because do you buy do you buy Bitcoin for its current value?
Investment.
No,
Well,
it's not that. What I mean
it's-
to say is that you can see potential in people, and you can want to be there for the journey, for them to grow. It's different than someone being with you
Oh,
and then telling you, "Yeah, I'll change. I
Yeah,
swear
yeah,
I'll do this.
I think we're
I'll do this
both-
for you, bro."
I think we're both right. I think these work in separate circumstances.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, like for example, if someone tells you they are willing to do certain, like they're not, for example, I'm willing to forgo a certain habit, which is drinking, okay, but time passes, like
And he doesn't really give it up. He's just, still drinking or
like
something.
he says I'm gonna decrease my dependency on alcohol, and then it's like 1 drink a week, and then it goes back up to 2. It's like, oh shit, I slipped, and then it goes back down, but he never really
Mr.
like stops.
Slippery.
He never really stops drinking or smoking, or insert bad habit here. Does that mean you have to live with it? Does that mean you have to be okay with it? I mean, you the viewer can only answer that question for yourself.
Let's be honest. Mom, I know you're watching this, and you saw Dad's potential. I love you, Mom, and you loved us all unconditionally. The only woman who can give unconditional love, the only person, is my mother.
The only person. Yeah. I mean, it's been a very real episode, I think.
Yeah.
Very.
It do be hidden like this sometimes,
Yeah.
It do be hidden like this.
Yeah, sometimes
Uh,
you go through life and then you experience something and you just have to talk about it.
These cold winter nights do be hidden different.
Yeah. So what should we call this episode? So it was prayer and then unconditional/conditional love. What?
Eat, pray, love.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's
Eat, pray, love.
that's what I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Okay, I think it's a good episode.
So thank you for watching episode 8 of Eat, Pray, Love by the Oriental Scoop. My name is Ali. This is Montez, and we're out.